Have you ever gotten a bag of trail mix and find that there are no M&Ms in there and all you have is the stuff that no one ever wants to eat in the trail mix? This is what it feels like to go out of your way and fund on Kickstarter for early access games and put your money out there and only get half of it in return. Not your money, but the game. Now, I don't look like I work for those companies, which I don't. I've never been inside Blizzard or even worked for an indie company and created a game. But I play my fair amount of them. I own probably over 15 games right now, and I play them every day. It doesn't seem like this is going to fit into the world around you, and it doesn't compare to a lot of people, but would you go out of your way to buy a pair of shoes and only get one of them in return? Or would you go out of your way to buy a Lexus and not have any tires on it? Can't get anywhere with it. My point today is I'm going to talk about where early access games are as a plague for the gaming community, how they got created, and what a solution is to fix that and bring them out of the gaming community. Let's start off with what early access is and why it's a huge plague on the community. Many game companies out there feel a huge pressure from people like me to get their games out there and to publish them as fast as possible. One of the biggest issues that they do with that is they will go out of their way for making pre-orders, which will give you in-game content and basically allow you to have the game with more stuff on it. Biggest issue with that though is when you have that happen, the game is getting pushed as fast as possible, because as soon as they get that money in from all those consumers, they start feeling a huge pressure. Okay, we need to get it out. We're going to put it out there for everybody. Games that come to mind for like that are going to be Star Citizen. They made a game that in order to start off in the game, you have to pay real world money in order to get that. They made over $77 million in their game, and their game is still in early access. It's sitting in limbo, and they don't feel a need to make more content in that game because they've already gotten the money. Another game that comes to mind is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. That one is in not alpha or beta, but is in early access. They put those games in there on sites like Steam and basically don't feel a need after they get your money to make more content for the game. And another huge excuse for that is when someone says, oh, this game doesn't have anything, it has a bunch of bugs or problems, they use the excuse, we're still in early access. Sorry, we can't really fix it. We're still in alpha or beta. Now, where does this game creation, or where does this early access creation come from? First, it comes from the fact that people will pay real world money. People will go out of their way to buy for this game and not get all of it in return. Star Citizen is an example of that. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is an example of that. Another huge problem with this is DayZ was one of the first starters of early access games. It was a zombie survival game. You jump in, you play with all your friends. Once the game had flourished with literally 20,000 people on a server, and once they kept it in early access and kept it going and going and going, and they felt no need to actually push for more content in the game, that game has dropped down to only 1,000 people per server. Mind you, a lot of people don't know what a server is. A server is a designated computer system that allows multiple people on the net to flourish on that system. Those are designed for around 10 to 20,000 people at a time. And if you have multiple servers running at once, it just gets exponentially larger. If that dropped down to 1,000 people, it's a waste of a server. So companies out there feel that they need to, push out content as quickly as possible, and then as soon as they get your money, they stop doing anything. They don't care to continue or pursue more on that fact. One thing that I feel like would be able to fix this issue is, first and foremost, don't support companies that do this. Stay away from companies that choose this route, and if you ever go on Steam, don't go to the early access section. There's literally a tab that says early access. Don't go in there, because most of the time the game's going to be down at 1,000 people on the server, and do you want to play an online game that has no one there? No. Second, stay away from games that are very flashy and they use terms as pre-order bonus, or you play this game and you get 50,000 credits in return. Those games are probably the worst ones that will go around that route of early access, or at least in the alpha genre. They try to drag you in and still stay in beta without telling you, and they offer you just extra stuff that literally is a waste because there's not going to be anyone on the game and your game's not even finished. And my third solution to this, or on top of the other two, is support indie companies that actually give you the full game. They're not there to give you partial games or say, oh, we're in alpha right now and we'll give you 4 different ships to run around on our server, but the game's not fully finished and we have a bunch of bugs. Don't support those gamers or those game companies. Support the other companies that have the full content done. And if you support indie companies as well, yes, you can support companies like Call of Duty or that make Call of Duty, such as, not Call of Duty's not made by Bethesda, but Bethesda's an example. They make a lot of RPG games that are fully done. They're not in the beta or alpha stage. Support those companies, but also support the indie companies that offer the full content. And then, there it is. In conclusion, I have explained how the plague of early access has basically flourished and been allowed to flourish from people supporting on Kickstarters and even on Steam in the early access section. Where this huge issue came from companies being extremely lazy and just trying to get into your pocketbook and that's it, and how to solve that. Don't go with those people. Go with other companies that actually allow you to have perfect content and the whole content. I went through this issue in early access a long time ago, and it's been probably one of the worst decisions I've ever made because I wasted $50. That doesn't seem like a lot, but I wasted $50 that normally other games cost the same, and I didn't get the full game in return. And a thing to end on in this light, if you don't think like early access is a huge thing because you watch on TV and you see that there's like Call of Duty and all those other games out there, there are early access games that are on Steam. Those games are on there, and out of all of those games, 1/4 of those early access games ever made it to actual, full game flourishing. There is still 3/4 of them on there that are still in early access. They've been in there for, the longest one I saw was actually Star Citizen, 5 years. That's ridiculous.